Time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Alexa Zepp. Alexa, we have a lot of business to handle this weekend, and I'm really excited because it is the Lecomte Day on Saturday at the fairgrounds and a really big day with undercard races. But the Lecomte is one of the big Kentucky Derby points races. It's a prep race, and it really feels to me like kind of like the unofficial start of the Kentucky Derby prep season, because now we'll get big prep races all over the place. You'll have some at fairgrounds, you'll have some at Gulfstream, Oaklawn Park, Santa Anita, Aqueduct will be bouncing all around. It's kind of like March Madness in the NCAA tournament. You'll have the local regional tracks, and whoever wins or the top couple from each of those tracks in their prep races will kind of move on, and they'll all meet in the Derby. So it's fun times right now as we get to know a lot of these horses.
It is. It really is like the kickoff, and it's a big race. There's a lot of horses in here, so I think we're just going to dive right into it.
Absolutely. We have a field of 14 lining up, but there are a couple that might not be running, so we'll mention them along the way. Remember, we're going to be looking at these Timeform US past performances, and we'll show you how you can get some of these for free at the end of this segment. Let's start, Alexa, with the number one. It's the coach, D. Wayne Lucas, who is the Hall of Fame trainer, has Innovator, who has big inside speed. Now, he took 7 starts to break his maiden, but if you look at some of the horses who he lost to along the way, you see some really nice horses like Chancellor McPatrick, who's a grade 1 winner, Owen Almighty. You see Barnes, who's one of the more highly regarded 3-year-olds right now for Bob Baffert. So he's probably going to be very fast from the inside.
Yeah, it did take him those 7 starts, and when he did finally break his maiden, or unless Horsey Terms win his first race, it was over the mud going a much shorter distance. So it'll be interesting. This is a big step up in class and distance. Could be worth including at a price, though.
What you're going to hear from us as we go through this field, most of these horses that are young horses, when you've only raced a few times, a lot of the horses are really fast early. And so when you have a big field like this, you're going to have a lot of horses who have only shown speed or who have been involved early on. And so something's got to give in a race like this. I mean, Maximum Promise, the number 2, he won his most recent race. He broke his maiden, winning by 14 lengths, but he did it right on the front end, and he'll probably have to deal with horses like Innovator and even the next one like Magnitude. So there's a lot of speed in here, Alexa.
There is a lot of speed in here. And this one, is coming in for Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez, who are last year's Derby and Oaks winning connections, trainer and jockey. So, we can have some confidence that they know what it takes to do well leading into this Derby trail. But yeah, that last race was going a mile. So that added distance after he won by so many lengths and was ridden out, which means you could tell he had more in the tank. I don't think the distance is going to be a problem for him tomorrow.
We can quickly move through Admiral Dennis, the number 3, because he's not going to run. He's going to be scratched out of this one. The connections have already said. There's a great article on drf.com from Marcus Hirsch if you want to get more information as to horses running or not running in this race, or some more backstory on a lot of the runners. The number 4, Magnitude, was second in the gun runner, but was 6 lengths behind Built, who's way to the outside in here. And then Alexa, another one who just seems like they want to be forwardly placed and close to the lead.
Completely agree. Like everyone we've talked about so far, he's going to want that spot. This is shaping up to have a really heavy pace. And like you said, been improving, but lost to some big ones in here.
Optical is the next one. He feels kind of a cut below. He's going to add the blinkers, and the blinkers, what they do when you put them on for a horse, they give you a little more focus. So they should get, and sometimes a little bit more speed, where you're not looking around, you're not noticing everything that's to the outside of your peripheral. You're just looking at what's ahead. So the equipment change is a positive, but I just don't know if this horse is up to par with a lot of the others in here.
I agree. I'm going to pass on Optical this time. I think he is a talented horse, but we would have to have like a wild improvement for him to make an impact in here.
I don't really have any knocks on Golden Afternoon, the number 6, and what he's done as a horse, but it's all been on the grass. So this is not an easy spot to try the dirt for the first time, right?
Yeah. Like you said, 3 solid races on the dirt for those on the grass, but for those who aren't super familiar with racing, there's really 4 main designations when it comes to surface and distances. You have turf, you have dirt, and then you have sprints, and you have routes. So, routes are a mile or longer, sprints are shorter than a mile. So it's very rarely that you're going to have a horse excel on a turf sprint as well as a dirt route. They usually have a specialty distance and surface. So when you're analyzing a horse's past performances, you want to take note of what conditions they've done well in before, and you also want to take note when they're making a change. So like Gino said, this horse is doing really well on the grass. Connections are probably wondering, is this a Derby caliber horse? To know that, you have to know if he can handle the dirt. So that's what they're trying here. If he does like the dirt, this horse could show up and have an impact at 20 to 1 odds.
And it opens up a bunch of options for them down the line, right? Now they know they can go in a couple more of these prep races over the next few months. I think you and I both like the number 7 in here, because this, to me, Alexa, looks like one of a few horses who we know is going to take back, is going to make one late run, and is going to try to come and mow them all down late.
Yeah, and this one did switch to the dirt 2 back, and it was just what he needed. Made a huge improvement, won that race. Like you said, he can stay out of the drama, chill out, relax, and position himself well. So the pace projection really helps him in here, and Timeform US does predict him to win.
If you watch his race visually that he won back in November, it is one of the most impressive races you will ever see. No joke. He came from way out of it and won that race by 17 lengths. Let's get to Tough Catch, the number 8. He's stretching out from sprint races, so I'm a little concerned that he gets caught up in that pace battle here.
Yeah, Tough Catch is interesting. A horse by Complexity, who actually calling card the 7 is also by Complexity, which is a new sire. These are his first 3-year-olds and had really precocious 2-year-olds. So, the most recent one he had was at Fairgrounds. So it is nice that he's been over this track before. Like you said, every race has been a sprint. And I do think he'll want that early position. So I don't know if he's going to get what he wants tomorrow.
Dapper Moon, the next one, number 9, is a tough read for me, because I've liked him a couple of the races when he faced tougher company, and he wasn't completely overmatched. He finished 4th against Graded Stakes, but he seems like his best races have been a little bit shorter, and maybe another horse, when stretching out, he's probably going to be part of that early pace.
I agree. My comment about those really tough races where he still ran respectably, he hit the fields, but he did need that class relief to get the win at Fairgrounds. So now they're stepping him back up, and I just think it still might be too difficult of a spot.
Number 10, Mo Better Than Good, is one of the few in here who's a proven closer. Now, this is a step up. He was a New York bred, and so he beat New York breds. This is open company, and he hasn't raced since September. But I could see him being a horse that passes a lot of these horses late, because we at least know that that's what he wants to do, Alexa.
Yeah, he ran that really great race, and I'm wondering if he came out of that race sore or, had any issues for the long break. But Kenny McPeek, again, won the Derby last year, won the Oaks last year, so he's bringing him back after that layoff in this super tough spot. So we can't totally sleep on Mo Better Than Good.
Number 11, Disco Time. Should I start my disco fever? Very, very fast. This horse is going to be one of the top contenders in here, but we're going to talk about this with Disco Time and with Built. A lot of the top contenders have early speed, so he's probably going to be a little bit wide or have to work out a trip.
I agree. He's undefeated in 2 starts, went off the favorite in both races so far. However, of all these early pace contenders, I do think Disco Time has one of the best shots to stick around and win. But I completely agree. Tough competition.
I think of the speed horses, he's probably one of my favorite that I think might be able to sit off a little bit. Jolly Samurai, his races at Remington, are they just a cut below this group?
A cut below.
I think so too. I can't really make too much of a case, but Built, he looks like one of the horses to beat, but the outside draw, he's way towards the outside in post 13. So he'll probably have to sit or go really fast to try to get the lead in here.
I think he'll want to go really fast to try to get the lead. He's super talented, but because of the draw, I am comfortable trying to beat him with some better prices in here.
I think he's a vulnerable favorite. I agree. The 14 Seattle Road, they're not sure if he will run. He's a stone cold closer. If he does, they're going to want to take back and make that one late run. Let's take a look at selections. Alexa, how are you going to end up here in the Lecomte?
I'm putting calling card on top just like you, Gino.
Yep, we're both putting the 7 right on top. 7, 10, 13, 3 for me. You see Alexa's selections right there. Before we get set for our first commercial break, Alexa, tell the folks out there how they can get a free set of past performances.
Yep, just scan the QR code on your screen to get a free all-access card.
We'll be right back after this commercial break with the Fairgrounds Pick 5.
This Sunday, the Rams carry the weight of their city when they face the Eagles. Then it's a clash of MVP caliber quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. SportsGrid has you covered all day, starting at 8 a.m. with FST for daily fantasy lineups. Lock in your picks with Pro Football Today and stay dialed in with real-time betting on in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
If I were that team and I was the coach, I would have just said, you know what? I'm leaving your ass at home and you can wait. Well, you can get your own damn plane and fly it to Philadelphia, and then I'll still sit your ass. Zion's got to get himself together on the court, both physically, but mentally by being engaged and being on time.
Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Well, now it's time to head on out to the fairgrounds for an all-stakes pick 5. If you watched our first segment, we went through the Lecomte. That's race number 12, so that's the last leg of this pick 5 sequence. Just a reminder for all of you out there, in a pick 5, it's like a parlay. So we have 5 different races where we have to have the winner of each and every race. We can use a couple horses in each race. We can use as many as we want, but it costs us more money every time we do. So we want to make sure that we get a nice return on our investment. We usually keep things in the like $60 to $100, $120 range, because once you start spending more than that, you start losing what you're going to make back. So let's make some money right here, Alexa. We have an all-stakes pick 5 to discuss. You're going to set the scene for us in race number 8, which is a mile and a 16th on the turf course.
Yes, I am, and we have 3 horses in this race, starting with the number 1, Cupid's Crush at 4-1 morning line odds, who's coming off quite successful last 6 months with 3 wins and 1 second in her 4 starts. Those 3 wins were all going long on the turf, and she posted faster speed figures than any of the other contenders in here have ever run. She came to Fairgrounds in November and cut back to a sprint. It was just too short of a distance for her. She was closing quickly in the stretch, but had to settle for second place. But her previous 3 wins, she was on the lead as the pace setter, and I think she'll be able to get a position up front tomorrow. And if you look at the pace projector, you can see that there's not a ton of early speed in here, so it should favor front runners like her.
She's stretching out from a sprint race too. She's going to be aggressive from the inside. A couple others that we're going to use along with the 1. The number 7, Austere. This is a horse who was very good at 2 and then was a little bit unlucky last year, had some trouble in a couple races, but came back in November and was extremely impressive. Could be a very fair price at 10-1. And then we have Ghostly Gal, the number 9, who tried a really tough group on a synthetic surface last time out, actually finished 3rd in that race, but had won 3 straight grass races prior to that. So in very nice form, we're going to use the 1, the 7, and the 9. So 3 deep trying to get through race number 8. Let's shift on to race number 9. This one is the Silver Bullet Day. So this is for the 3-year-old fillies. And Alexa, there are some talented 3-year-old fillies in here. Why don't you start us off with some of the horses that you like?
Yeah, this one awards Oaks points. So just like, the male horses are on the Derby Trail, the female horses on the Derby Oaks Trail. So we're going to use Simply Joking at 3-1, the number 3. Just like the last race, this one should also favor front runners. And Time Form US does predict Simply Joking to be near the lead and stick around for the win. She's only been out once before, but it was in a stakes at Fairgrounds a month ago, going a short distance, and she won with very impressive speed figure for her first time out. She's adding a few furlongs tomorrow, so we'll have to see how she handles the distance, but has been working well, and I wouldn't be surprised to see an improvement this second time out. We'll also use the 6 Goals Delight at 8-1 odds. Similarly to Simply Joking, has been out once at Fairgrounds and won impressively. The race she won was a lower class level than a stakes, but it was long distance on the dirt, so we can be confident that the distance shouldn't be an issue for her at all. Her trainer, Kenny McPeak, like I talked about in the first segment, did win the Oaks last year, so we also could be confident that he knows what it takes when he enters a contender on the Oaks Trail.
The number 1, Chasen, is actually a half sibling to Idiomatic. Idiomatic was a champion a couple years back, won the Breeders' Cup Distaff, was one of the best horses in training over the last few years. So the number 1 has a really nice pedigree, has the bloodlines to be a very good horse. And the number 2, Golden Gamble, was so impressive when she broke her maiden, when she won her first career race back in November. And then she finished second last time out. I wouldn't be shocked to see them sitting a little closer with her in this race early on. She's super talented. So we're going to end up using 4 horses to try to make it through race number 9. We're going to use the 1, 2, the 3, and the 6. And then, Alexa, it'll all come down in the 10th race, the Colonel Bradley to our single. You and I, the way we were handicapping this race, we both had the 7, Gigante, as our top pick. And then after the 7, there were like 6 other horses that we had in the next tier. So it was either we're going to single Gigante or we're going to go like 7 or 8 deep in this race. So we end up singling Gigante, who's just in really nice form. He's a great fit in a spot like this. He loves fairgrounds. He's not quite at the grade 1 type level. He's like a little below that as a grade 2, grade 3 type of horse. So a listed stakes race like this is perfect for him. It's all going to come down in race number 10 to the single of the 7, Gigante. So fingers crossed, if we can make it through our single, we'll have some nice coverage moving on to race number 11. So Alexa, start us out in race number 11. I think you like the 5 in there a little bit, right?
Yep, it's the grade 3 Louisiana Stakes, going a mile and a 16th on the dirt, so another long race. And I like the 5 Skinner at 9-2 odds. He's hit the board in 8 out of 12 starts and most recently won the grade 3 Native Diver Stakes at Del Mar in November. This will be his first out with new trainer Cherie DeVoe, who does astoundingly well at Fairgrounds, a 31% win rate. I mean, that is wild. So Skinner actually had an invitation to the Pegasus World Cup next week, but passed for this spot, which is just a considerably easier place for him to win. We'll also use the number 8 Track Phantom, who may ring a bell if you tuned into the Derby last year. There was quite a bit of buzz about him. He made the lead and then faded to 11th in the Derby. He's the winner of last year's Lecomte Stakes that we just reviewed, which was his most recent win. So he's been running strong figures the last few months, though. Should be a pace setter in this race and hopefully can retain that lead and not fade like he's done in some of his more recent starts.
So what's nice is we have one of the big speeds with Track Phantom, and if Track Phantom gets softened up and maybe has to duel with some others, we have horses like Skinner, the 5, who you mentioned, who's going to be coming from way out of it, and then Hit Show is probably the horse to beat from the rail. He's just been really solid and consistent at these levels. He's going to save some ground. He was third behind Rattle and Roll in the Clark last time out, but he is a multiple graded stakes winner. And it just is a great spot for Hit Show. Alexa, why don't you remind everyone who we're going to use in the Lecomte? We just did the horse by horse preview there.
Yeah, we landed on using 4 in the pick 5 ticket, starting with the 1 Innovator at 10-1 for the GOAT to the coach. Trainer Dwayne Lucas, they spent $900,000 on this horse, so they're going to ask him to prove that he's worth it. The number 7 Calling Card, Gino's and my top pick. The number 10 Moat Better Than Good, a 20-1 long shot, and the number 13 Built Morning Line favorite.
Altogether, The ticket adds up to $72, and we build it around that single in race number 10. The number 7 is our single on the pick 5 ticket. So it's $72. We wish you the best of luck playing this pick 5. When we return from our quick break, we're going to talk all about Pegasus Day next week. We're going to look into the Kentucky Derby point standings. Don't go anywhere.
The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs aim for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl, but the Texans are ready to end the dynasty. Then the Commanders, fresh off their first playoff win since 2006, take on the high-powered offense of the Detroit Lions. Start your game day with pro football today at 10 a.m. for pregame betting. Then stay in the action with in-game live game day, only on SportsGrid.
What if he gets Kellen Moore? See that guy, right? He was like supposed to be the coach in waiting when he was the offensive coordinator. Is that enough? Like, does Jerry pull the trigger for that? Or does he pull the trigger for Dion?
Mike McCarthy would have not let this play out this way unless he had a job. So I think McCarthy already has the New Orleans job.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Okay, in this final segment, we're going to take a look at the Kentucky Derby point standings, and then we'll preview next week on a big day at Gulfstream Park. Alexa, in our first segment, we went over the Lecomte. We did a horse-by-horse preview. The Lecomte is a Kentucky Derby points race, and it gives 3-year-olds a chance to earn points and hopefully qualify for the Kentucky Derby. The top 20 3-year-olds on a point standing list will make the field for the Kentucky Derby, and what's very important about this year is trainer Bob Baffert, who we know from years and years of Kentucky Derby success. He is back this year. The ban has been lifted, so Bob Baffert can enter horses in the Kentucky Derby. And no surprise to see right up top, who's got the top horse? Bob Baffert, who won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and he's got a couple nice horses that are newly turned 3-year-olds.
Yeah, not only the top spot, but taking up, 3 of the top 4 positions with Citizen Bowl Gaming and Getaway Cars. So he's definitely back in action. The most tied for the most winningest trainer of the Derby with 6 wins. But one I like to mention is Chancellor McPatrick, just because it's one I like to root for. It's a feel-good racing story. His owner, Sean Flanagan, was told he had 2 years to live in 2019. They found a tumor the size of a grapefruit. He miraculously was able to have it removed, got the all clear. And then after that, he had that life is short realization and decided to get into horse ownership. So as a relatively new owner, he's done a lot. Chancellor McPatrick, won a grade 1, ran in the Breeders' Cup, and now on the Derby Trail. So he has needed some time off after Breeders' Cup, but trainer Chad Brown still hoping he can stay on the trail. So that's one I like to root for.
And remember, horses have to enter particular races and earn points in those races. There might be horses that win other races or look really impressive, but if they don't win or they don't qualify in some of these particular races, they won't have the points. So you might see really good horses that are not on this list yet because they haven't been in some of those points standing races. We'll check in on this list over the next few months and see how things move, because we have a big points race this weekend and then a lot of big points races coming up over the next few months. So there's a look at the Derby leaderboard. But Alexa, I'm getting pretty excited. Because next week, you and I, right now, when we're doing this show, we're going to be at Gulfstream Park. We're going to be getting ready for Pegasus Day, which is next Saturday.
Are we building in some beach time, Gino?
I think we might have to. We're going to head on around. We're going to be partying it up down there at Gulfstream Park. I've never been to Florida. I've never been to Gulfstream Park. I'm very excited. So this is going to be the maiden voyage out there for me. But we're going to have we're going to have a show Friday morning, just like this show we do. It's just going to be twice as long. We're going to preview all of the big Pegasus races, and we're going to have a couple different guests. We're going to start off with Bailey Armour from First Bet and First Racing. She'll be able to set the scene for us, talk about some of the special wagers they're going to have, and just talk about Pegasus Day as a whole. And then you and I were talking about how we're excited to chat with Gulfstream Park handicapper Samantha Perry about the Pegasus filly and mare turf. Then we get into the Pegasus races with Randy Moss, who we see on NBC covering the races all the time. So we got a great crew lined up for our big show next week.
It's going to be a blast. I cannot wait.
So Pegasus Day was created to be one of these major racing days on the calendar. Not only a day of great racing, but a day of great entertainment, food, music, fun. It's one of those days where they really want to get everybody out on the track. So if you can't make it out to Gulfstream Park, at least hang out with us on Friday next week. Right here, we're going to have an hour-long show. Instead of our 3 segments, we're going to have 6 segments. It's going to be twice as much coverage, but we'll still get into that pick 5. We'll still give you all the selections as normal. Alexa, right now, we know some of the horses who might be running in the big Pegasus race, which is going to be the Pegasus World Cup Dirt. A couple of them on your radar. Who are some of the horses you're excited about?
Yeah, Pegasus is an interesting race. Unlike these Derby prep races we're talking about, who are younger horses proving themselves, Pegasus, we've got a lot of really accomplished, proven horses in here. We have Mystic Dan, who, won the Kentucky Derby, has won $4 million. We have White Abario, who's won over $5 million, won the Breeders' Cup Classic and the Whitney. We have Senor Buscador, who's one of the top earners ever with $13 million, won the Saudi Cup. So there's a lot to look forward to. And then, of course, Locked, who is a more lightly raced horse, hasn't won as much, has won nearly $1 million, but probably will be the favorite, I think.
I think you hit on the top contenders there. Those are the horses that are going to take a lot of money. The field will be drawn for this on Sunday. So as of Sunday, you can head to Daily Racing Form, drf.com, and get your Daily Racing Form past performances. You can start handicapping the races. And then next week, we will get into all the big ones. We'll preview them for you right here. We'll get into the pick 5. Make sure you set the alarms right now for the Daily Racing Form weekend preview on Friday, January the 24th. We'll get you all set up for Saturday, January 25th, Pegasus Day at Gulfstream Park. Don't forget about our promo right there. Get your free past performances when you scan the promo code, and we'll see you all again right here next week.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.